Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks bringing you an update in Bitcoin. We're doing these weekly now on YouTube. You can expect them. I did record this particular update on Sunday, June 8th, 2025, and it is good for the week of Monday, June 9th. These are weekly bar charts, same weekly bar chart throughout. This bar chart, for instance, goes back some 7 years to 2018. And in this particular chart, I do show, if you've been following this, you're quite familiar with this, but it is a 5-year channel top that, having violated it last November, was a significant longer-term buy signal. Up to that point, we were anticipating the possibility of topping out at this 5-year channel top that is now at 84,325, thus then allowing for meaningful downside longer-term bearish rotation. That obviously didn't happen, and having closed above this 84,325 formation, we started then anticipating, and still do, 122,433, which is a simple full swing wave count. You take this a significant 21 high, you subtract from it the 22 low, you add to that the 21 high, and you get what I call the full swing. A minus B plus A, 122,433. They're great targeting mechanisms, especially longer term. Actually, they work even, on a 30-minute bar chart. But this is our objective, has been since last November, actually. Now, following a January high, we did fall back to this channel top and spent 2 months not only testing it, but breaking it on an intra-week basis. But we never did close back below this structure at the end of a week. And while we had an incredible amount of aggravating slippage, especially for those who were long, we never had a signal to get out of a long position. It was stay long, still anticipating 122,433. And it's been over the last month or so that we've pushed to new highs. But we have not, and I think I'm going to show that in the next chart, we have not closed above the 109, 192 January high. We've pushed through it, but we haven't settled above it. And we're using that now as our next secondary buy signal, nearer term. Within a month or two of closing above 109, 192, we would expect 122.43. Also on this chart, you can see about 6 weeks ago, we settled above a descending channel top, and that actually has been our more meaningful secondary buy signal. We're expecting hesitation at 109, 192, which has been happening, but it really has been the settlement above 98,217, this descending channel top, descending flag at the top of an all-time high that did set up 122.433 as likely to be tested within 2 to 3 months. And if we can close this week above 109, 192, make that within 1 to 2 months. We've also amended our objective to include not only 122,433, but also 126,226, a significant long-term rising channel top. This is really our objective. This is our significant sellable resistance. In other words, another way of saying this is, as we test this area at 126,226, I wouldn't be surprised to see an annual high and then a falling away, possibly to this trend line, which would then be a significant channel support. If you test the channel resistance, your channel support is well below the market in the lower 80,000s. If we were over the coming months to close above 126,226, that would result in an increasingly vertical, accelerated upside. And I don't have an objective, ironed out for that just yet. But this 122 to 126 region, this is significant sellable resistance. If you're long Bitcoin and you're looking for a pause, and I'm talking probably mostly to what I would call near-term investors, you're holding for months on end and you're out when you see a significant test to the upside in the market. And I do think it is this 126 to 122 area that is a significant test. I do expect it over the next 2 to 3 months above 98,217. Now, I'm going to zoom in this area here and kind of break down some other key levels to look at. And you can see this descending channel top at 98,217. There is also, based on the April low against that recent May high, a 3/8 downside Fibonacci at 97,641. So I'm just going to call this a narrow zone of meaningful support. As I say, can contain selling through the third quarter, and once again, above which, anticipating upward continuation into the 122,000 to 126,000 region. I think 2 to 3 months is realistic. It could also take longer. I think once we close above 109, 192, we are looking at within 2 months of that we can anticipate this upper zone where you might consider taking some profits on your Bitcoin investment, especially if your normal holding period is 3 to 5 months or so, or even a year out, because we can fall away from here for 3 to 5 months to follow back into the lower 80,000 area. Now for the downside, if we do happen to close back below 98,217, actually, let me zoom in just a little bit here and make note, I forgot to, of the low of the high. For those of you who are like 3 to 5 day swing traders, if we close any day this week below 102, 102, we can this week actually test 97,641 and 98,217, where once again, we can bottom out through the third quarter and round up to 122,433 within 2 to 3 months. If, however, we were to close below 98,217 as well as really the 97,641. So I don't want to confuse us. I'm going to go back to this chart here. Here's the two combined. And so I'm just rounding down. I'm not interested in playing the short side of the market or bailing on a long position that's anticipating 122,000. I'm not interested in bailing on that long position or playing the short side of the market as we move into July, August, unless we close below 97,641. That's the 3/8 Fibonacci that is just below the channel top. And so if we do close below 97,641, and I don't see that this week, but if it did occur, I think we're 1 to 2 months away from testing not only 84,325, but we've got a history of spiking below it. And if we did spike below it, we could spike down to, if you will, the 75,912 channel bottom. As I've been saying in recent videos, since we put out this high back in May, that 75,912 is our base of support through the rest of the year. We can bottom out into this zone and round back up through the rest of the year. But if we close below 75,912 in the coming 1 to 3 months or 2 to 3 months, we've got a good high for the year. The market likely then to continue deteriorating through the rest of the year. I don't have an objective mapped out, but I think it would be significant. Until then, this is your long-term entry if given the opportunity. Until then, I'm going to leave you with this chart, which is really what we're expecting. 122,433 to 120,226 remains a 2 to 3 month objective within 2 months of closing above 109, 192, able to contain annual highs. I think I'm going to leave it at that for this week's Bitcoin update. You have a great week.